Hi, in this tutorial I will be looking at exporting and importing the document attachments in Dynamics 365, and I will also be using a PowerShell script that I created to fix the import files so that we don't have to worry about the grid values being used in it. So let's get cracking, and we will use the release products document attachments to export and import images. So what the idea is that in the release products we shall be extracting some of the images. In this case, one of the files we have an attachment, and it is an image file, and we should be able to extract this. So heading over to our data management project, we will create an export project, and let's give it a name, release product images. Let's add the entity. We will give it a export or a target data format of an Excel file. We don't need to worry about the skip staging. We want to do a full push because we want to get all the records at the moment, and we do want to use importable fields, and this is because we will be using the same Excel template to import the files in. So let's go ahead and export this job, and this should finish anytime soon, and there will be an option to download the file or the entire download package. Now if we just download the file, all this will do is give us an Excel file, and it will have things like what the description, the file type, the original file name, and the attachment file name, which is a rather very encrypted value of a grid, and we'll see how to do that. And these are the item numbers that the images are stored against. However, there are no images in this file, so let's go ahead and download the package instead. And what we get is a zip file. The zip file has a couple of features in it. We have the release product document attachment. Now this is the same file that we got when we just hit download file, and it will actually be the same. Let me unzip this file. Okay, so if I open this file, as you can see, it's very similar to the Excel file that we just downloaded by itself. So everything stays the same there. We have a package header which just defines what the header of the data management project is and the file used inside it. The manifest will tell us about mappings. So we just want to keep these files the same. And the resources folder will have a folder for every entity used inside it, and for each entity we will have our files inside it, and these are the attachments. And as you can see, if we try to match this over here, we can see that. So if we copy this file in here, try to rename that, and we should be able to see the file here. So that's how the files are exported. So now let's look at how do we import documents into FinOps. Okay, so let's go and delete some of the files that we don't need. Let's go ahead and extract some of the files that will be pretty standard. So I've created a folder called temp dm import, and I'll be doing all my editing over here. So we want to get a file similar to that, and we'll be importing that. We'll be using that as a template. What I will also be putting over here is a folder just for export files, and this will be the package that we import. So let's just copy these two XML files in here at the moment and paste that here. Okay, so now I have downloaded a set of images and I want to attach it to the release products. So let's get cracking with this and let's add those files to over here. So one of the first ones, let's do is T222. This is an image type. The attachment description, let's call it a projector television. The attached date time, we don't really need that, so we just delete that. Access restriction, it's external. The attaching user ID, we don't want that for now. The document entity attachment, legal entity ID, let's keep it to that. File type, let's empty that. So we just go through most of them and fill them up as we go. We don't need the original file name because we want this file name to be used here. The product image usage is also external, and the attachment file name. Now what you would need to do is create a GUID over here, take this file, copy it into the resources folder, rename it with the GUID, and put the same file here. So that's what I will use. Is I will use a script which will make it a little bit easier. So let's copy the path for this file and paste that over here. I'll do that for the other file. Call it ATV external USMF. No. And paste that attachment file name as well. And this case, copy as path. So this is in a different folder. They all don't need to be, but you do need to provide the full UNC path of the files that you want to use here. You don't need to import image files all the time. You could do it of different types. These would be your file types that you would have configured. So let's fill these out. Okay, so we are importing 3 files, and let's save this file and let's close that. So now the next thing we need to do is copy a tool that I have. This is a PowerShell script. I'll have that link in the description. Go to that link and save the file. In our case, you can copy this anywhere, but in this case I will copy it to this folder as well. We don't want it as a .txt, just a ps1 file. Let's go over here, and that file exists over here. So now let's go to PowerShell. And navigate to the folder of the import directory. You don't necessarily have to do that, but it's just ease of use. So let's open up the Excel file over here, and that one's over there. So there's a couple of things that we need to import. There's a couple of switches that we need to use. So first of all, let's call the script. We want the Excel file path. This is the file that the Excel file that we are going to use. So copy the path and the file name together, so it needs to be the entire one. Paste that over here. You will then need to use, as you can see, there's a small example over here. We need the target folder path. So the target folder path is the package folder where you have placed the two XML files. What it will do is it will copy the Excel file over here and the images as well. So let's paste the target folder as well, and the target entity. So the target entity. Now the target entity would be the release products document attachment. If you do remember, when we downloaded the zip file, there was a folder with the same name as the entity. So that's what this would be. Let's go down to double quotes. And you then need to go and define a few more parameters for this. So we need the column attachment file name. So this is the attachment file name, and let's expand all of that. Okay, so that would be the original file name that we need to use. Now it is J. So it's the letter J, which translates out to be number 10. So we want the column number starting from 1, and this is where we fill the name of the file in there. But you also need the column attachment file type. This is column F over here, which is number 6. And lastly, the column attachment file path, which is L. So this is the file path that the PowerShell file will read, and it will populate that one. Now remember to close the Excel files. We don't want to save that for now. And when you run it, what this will do is it will read the files in there, and it's read the three files, the 3 rows that we created. It skipped the first line because that was the header, and let's go into that. It's placed a Excel file over here with the same name, and it's gone and populated the original file name with the file name. The file type is JPG, and the attachment file name has changed. It's no longer the file path anymore as we had it, and it's also created a folder called resources. Under that, it's created the folder for the entity name that we provided in the switches, and over here you'll see that it's created 3 files and the GUIDs match up over here. Okay, so what we will need to do now is to take all the files inside this folder, and we shall compress it to a zip file, and this will be our package that we import. Let's give it a name, attachment. Okay, so let's come up over here. Let's create an import project, and let's give it a name, product images. Let's go with the file path. Now over here we don't need to define the entity name or the source data format, because we will be importing the zip file, which is a package, and that the manifest and the package header both have the definition of the entity that we are using. It will import all the entity definitions, and it will also have the files inside it. So let's go ahead and import this file, and let's refresh. As you can see, it's got 3 files. It's waiting to import it, and that's done. So let's go ahead to our Excel file that was created to compare, and we want these 3 files. So T002. As you can see, there's an attachment sitting against it. We've got a projector television here. We've got another item that's got our TV image over here. And yet another, the last one, and we have our mini speaker. So hopefully you'll be able to use this tool and make imports a little bit easier. Thank you for watching this.